Ciao a tutti, hi everybody. How was your first day yesterday? Did you enjoy the conference? Okay, for us yesterday was a super cool day. We were, yes, the official hashtag is DAIE. We were in trend topic all day long yesterday, and also with 14 million tweet reach in Europe and US. So we are really, really happy for that. And now let's start with the second day. They are our super keynote speaker today. Thank you very much for joining the conference. Lorenzo Barbieri, Linda Rising, Jessica Rose, and Denis Cruz. Let's start with Lorenzo from Microsoft, a super tech evangelist. Thank you.
Thank you very much. While they connect the PC, I want to thank my friends from Antab Studio. They are in the area 151. They have these super cool glasses, and they make a very good game called Grid. I cannot use the glasses during the keynote because I cannot see you. But these glasses are very cool, and I want to thank them, and I want to have them to go there and see the games, all the games, not only there. They have the best glasses in the world. So time flies when you are having fun. How Microsoft changed in the last years. I want to start with only one thing. Why Microsoft changed? There is no doubt that Microsoft changed in the last year. Perhaps someone of you can think, no, I don't think Microsoft is changed, or perhaps they only want to make money or something. But why Microsoft has changed in the last year? And I have many theories, and perhaps one theory is I'm not the official Microsoft talking point. It's one of my theory. One of my theories is that Vanity Fair talked very bad about Microsoft, and so that forced us to change, because, you know, Vanity Fair is the best tech magazine in the world, and if they say that Microsoft have lost a decade, we have to do something. And so we started to work very, very hard, because, you know, Vanity Fair told us to do so. And I think that we changed something, and so people started to notice. So I'm not here saying that Microsoft is changed, but that other people is saying that Microsoft is changing. And what drives us is our mission. Our mission is to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. It's very, very different from our previous missions. For example, to have a PC on every desk and every office. It says every person and every organization, and not our customers. We want to empower every person and every organization, and this means by offering you the best tools. And so it's not that you are forced to do our tools, to use our tools, but you have to choose our tools. This is the change from the previous Microsoft. In fact, the world is changed, so Microsoft has to change. The world is changed because in the past, sometimes also now, but it's changing, you had, for example, one department that was a Microsoft department, and another department was a Linux department or a Java department. They were very separated. Now, these walls are gone. And so you can have one project where you have Node.js talking with a Microsoft database, working with a Linux virtual machine hosted on AWS. And this is the normal landscape today. So you cannot empower every people and every organization if you focus only on Office, Windows, .NET, and very few technologies. You simply cannot. So Microsoft has to change. Microsoft have not changed in a few days. In fact, we started more than 10 years ago. Perhaps many of you didn't know this. So we started with publishing our first project on SourceForge. Perhaps many of you know SourceForge. And then we did a lot of things. And I think that this is only growing. For example, now you have .NET open source. You have Microsoft working with OpenJDK. We have Microsoft contributing code, source code to the Linux kernel. Microsoft working with the Linux Foundation all join, and a lot of other things. In fact, these are only the latest news. Red Hat Enterprise Linux on Azure Marketplace, supported by us and supported by Red Hat. Ionic Framework templates. Microsoft joins the Eclipse Foundation. Microsoft released a special Debian distribution to host our software called Sonic that is completely open source, and this is used to manage your data center. SQL Server on Linux. We have acquired Xamarin, Azure Container Service, Microsoft Open Source Challenge for students. We are giving prizes to students to collaborate to open source projects, not Microsoft open source project. They can work with every open source project, and they can participate. Microsoft Java Tools Challenge, we are giving prizes to people constructing Java tools that integrates with our offering, but they can work, for example, only on Linux and on a particular Eclipse version. We don't care if your tool is the best, you will win the prize. Microsoft and Linux Foundation for All join. Microsoft Project Oxford that are our cloud vision and emotion recognition and voice recognition APIs, open for everybody, and a lot of other things. Last year I have announced here Visual Studio Android emulator. We are working with tools for Apache Cordova. We have a lot of projects. And this is really good because, for example, one thing about, I go back to the previous slide, one thing about this journey is that we really don't want to use open source. We want to work in an open source way, at least on this project and on many projects that have to come. So, for example, .NET. We have already released the .NET source code many years ago, but it wasn't a closed source code. You can see it, but you cannot modify it. Now, there are more than 400 modifications in the .NET source code made by you. We have accepted more than 400 pull requests from the communities. And this is a real change. Now, the roadmap of .NET, for example, is on GitHub and is open to Microsoft people and to community people to contribute. And this is valid for every project that we put open source. It's not that we put the source here, and then in another year we put the next version, and you cannot see what is going. You can see the nightly build of .NET when we do the check-ins, when we put our code in, and when we accept people contribution, you can see it real time, as in every open source project. If you have to work and do open source, you have to do in the right way. It's not a matter of open sourcing the code. You have to open sourcing the way you work. And these require times. These require times. It's not for every Microsoft project, perhaps. It's not for every Microsoft product, but it's a big change, I think. So Azure, talking about Azure, Azure is an open cloud. This is not a promotion of Azure. If you want to talk about Azure, you can come to our booth, but this is a promotion of all the other tools that can work on Azure, because people think about Azure as a Microsoft cloud. Azure is an open cloud. I think that perhaps Vanity Fair give us the last motivation to change. I'm joking about Vanity Fair because it wasn't a simple article, but I think that the real moment, the real turning point of Microsoft was when we changed from Windows Azure to Microsoft Azure. Because you are not credible if you are saying to people, come hosting your Linux machines on Windows Azure. It's not credible. Come hosting your virtual machine or your open source software on Microsoft Azure. I really cannot say that Microsoft is an open source company because we have closed source project and we have open source project. I think that we are a company that can work very well with open source. Perhaps we can, sometimes people say, you can open source more, okay, but we are a company with many thousand employees, and it's not easy to modify it. And sometimes it's not also the good thing to do in that moment. So I don't know what will happen in the future. I'm not a Microsoft executive. I'm not the official Microsoft spokesperson that can say what the future is. But what can I say is that Microsoft Azure can work with all these technologies. There are, look, I'm not saying that we are not supporting our technology. Our technology work very well on Azure, but our technology, for example, work very well on AWS. We have worked with Amazon, so if you host a Windows server on AWS, you can handle with them all the licensing and all the stuff. And in the past, it wasn't so easy. Like we are working, for example, with Red Hat on Azure. So if you want to buy a Red Hat Enterprise server on Azure, you do everything with us, but it's supported by Red Hat, and Red Hat gets its money because it's a product. Like, for example, Oracle on many other products. So 1 in 4 VMs on Azure is running Linux today. Last year, my point was that 1 in 5 VMs was running Linux. So you can think, Linux is growing and is throwing Windows away. It's not the real point here because Azure usage is growing in the last year, and so Windows is grown, and Linux grows more now. But it's good. It's good because you can host whatever workload you have on Azure. And we're really proud to have a so big number of Linux virtual machines on Azure because it says that they can run well because people can put a virtual machine on Azure, test it. If it doesn't work, they will go on Amazon or another cloud. So if they are staying with us, perhaps they can see the value. It's simple. Microsoft is changed also in the way we talk with you, open source developer, communities, and so many of you yesterday were present at our meetup. If you weren't there, you can come to our booth and talk to me or to my colleagues. And for us, it's really, really important. The main message at our meetup yesterday was that we want to listen, that we want to start working with all the communities and not only with Microsoft communities. Because, for example, if you are a Java user group, we have a lot of things to say about Java. We joined the Eclipse Foundation. We are hosting a lot of Java code inside Azure. We have a lot of Java tools. We have open sourced our Java tools on GitHub. So perhaps you can go there and see how to write enterprise Java code talking with our services directly from us. And you can contribute. You don't like our integration, you can go on GitHub, modify it, and perhaps we will accept it. This part is in Italian, just to say that we will have many events in Rome, because yesterday, for example, at the meeting, many communities asked what are you doing physically? We don't know you. Where can we learn more about Microsoft technologies? So I put these two events here. You can come to our booth. I don't want that you take note now. Now I want to close. This sentence is not from a Microsoft executive. It's not from Satya Nadella or other big executives. It's from James Whittaker, that is a Microsoft distinguished engineer. He worked for Microsoft, then he moved to Google, and then he came back. And then he came back because perhaps it was the first to see the first steps in the new direction that Microsoft was taking at the moment, and he wanted to contribute. He is one of my personal speakers. I really encourage you to look at what James Whittaker has to say. And James put this sentence: what made Microsoft successful wasn't thinking about competitors or market share, but thinking about changing the world. When Bill Gates started selling basic for all microcomputers, 8-bit times, I was a little boy at the moment. Microsoft were really thinking about changing the world. Perhaps we lost it during time. It's really difficult not to change when you grow and grow and grow. But now we are starting to think about changing the world again. It's our attitude. Microsoft is encouraging people from the community, from other companies, to join us, to join our engineering teams, to join our team all over the world, to spread a new message. Because it's simply, if we don't change the world, someone else will. And so I really think that we have to try to do something different. It's not changing the world to have a Microsoft world, but to have a world where Microsoft and other companies and you can work together to have a better technology. Because my real message is you have not to be forced to use Microsoft software. You have to choose Microsoft software because perhaps you can see value. And this is the difference between now and when Vanity Fair wrote that article. So I'm really happy to be here at CodeMotion. It's many years that I do this at CodeMotion. It's one of my favorite places to be. And I want to meet you at the booth because I'm really proud to work for the new Microsoft. Thank you.